idea of tonight is really it's try and keep it fairly laid back and relaxed, and enjoy your drinks, enjoy your nibbles. But I thought it'd be a good opportunity just to invite some newbies, invite some experts or veterans of the club, and answer a few of those questions that maybe you've always struggled to answer. So if we had meetings, you'd be getting together every month basically, and you'd have lots of opportunity to ask those sort of questions. So given that we don't have that opportunity right at this moment, hopefully soon, but I just thought I'd raise this as another opportunity. And as mentioned, I am recording it, so I'll try and edit that later and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to create a video for our YouTube channel. We have, if you're not aware of it, it's the Pajero Club's channel. And I thought this would be just a good feature to have on the channel. I do have a list of questions, quite a few questions. Thanks, Barry, who didn't turn up yet. Hopefully he's not having any problem.
Barry Walker.
Barry Walker.
Yeah, he was coming.
Yes.
Well, he'll be late.
Yeah, okay, well, hopefully he rocks up. So I'm just going to go through these questions, and it might kind of lead astray a little bit. I expect the conversation just to kind of go, find its own way, but I thought I'll at least have some list of questions in case we kind of run out. The first topic I think worth discussing is off-road setups and what modifications are required before heading off-road. I thought that's probably a good start there, and I mean, I think for me personally, I would class tyres as probably the number one. I think a minimal requirement would be having all terrains at the least. I know a few people that have gone off-road without those tyres, and I find it I would be quite nervous personally, not only at the opportunity to get stuck essentially, but increased chances of popping tyres and that sort of stuff. So because essentially they're not designed to be deflated down to the required levels. So does anyone else want to add to that? So tyres I think are a must. Modifications required to a car?
Yeah, I would put that down as number one. And it doesn't need at least all terrains, just for the strength of the tyres themselves, to resist punctures and side damage. And I would also say that there's a difference between all terrains and all terrains, and you get what you pay for. So if you just buy the cheapest thing you can find, you probably wouldn't come on one of my trips. You need good quality tyres, and they pay you back in the long run because good quality tyres last longer.
I've just changed out a set of Cooper ATs on my Cruiser at 87,000. They were still going all right, but I've just put a set of Mickey Thompson ATZ P3s on that I reckon I'll get 80-odd thousand out of.
Easily done.
Pretty bright, isn't it? How do you go with noise with those?
Can't hear them. No different. Like the ones, the Cooper AT3s I had on prior, which are an all-terrain, a 70/30 tyre on the Cruiser. Couldn't hear it at all. I've put these new ATZ P3s on, which are a 50/50 tyre. They're the same as the Cooper ST Maxes, and can't hear it.
The nice thing with the Coopers, the ST, I've got ST Max on, the more they wear, the more you'll hear them. So the louder your tyre gets, the more you know you've worn them.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I've had two sets of Coopers and they get bloody noisy when they get worn out. They're the noisiest of all the tyres when they get worn out. I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, but the actual trick with that, Paul, is make sure you rotate them every 10,000 Ks.
Yeah, I do that. They're still noisy. I've had most of them. I've had Olympic, I've had Coopers, I've had all the different tyres, and Coopers, in my opinion, are the noisiest of the lot. They certainly last, but they're definitely the noisiest.
It's not the tyres. It's not the tyres that are noisy. It's the dealers trying to call you in.
Yeah.
I've had the P3s the same as
It's
Russell.
the dealers crying.
And
Sorry, Brian.
Sorry, I've had the P3s the same as Russell, the Mickey Thompsons. They are a slightly softer compound. They've got almost the same longevity as the Coopers. They are much quieter. They are much softer on the road. And by and large, I've found them very satisfactory.
Brian, they come out the same factory.
They do come out of the same factory, but they are a different compound.
Different compound, slightly different setup with them.
Yep. Now, my badge behind me there, that runs P3s on that, ATZ P3s, and I've kept up with STTs, full-blown mud tyres in the mud without any problems whatsoever. So very, very happy with them.
Yeah.
So does anyone that's had the harder compounds that get noisy at 10,000 changeover tried what happens if you do it 5,000? Because the noise is actually the feathering of the leading edge.
It is.
Yes.
Get over faster. Potentially you don't get it, maybe not as noisy, but the overall noise factor, I guess, is minimised.
I think a contributing factor to that is whether you tow or not, because when you tow, it's harder wear on the tyres.
Especially with Pajeros.
Yes.
True.
Gens 3-4 Pajeros.
Outback tracks is rather hard on them too.
They are.
Coming back to Naz's original question, number one is servicing your vehicle, making sure that it's serviced and suitable to go off-road.
Yeah, I think that's a given. I would agree with that.
It's a given, but not many people think of it sometimes.
Yeah, okay, I'm one of those who, quite vigilant with I always have been, whether I'm on off-road or not. But I like a car that's serviced because I'm not very good at fixing things. So,
and it's your bearings and all the things you may not think about. Really should be serviced before you do outback or even the high country.
Yeah,
and you're better off going to someone that's specialises in servicing 4x4s rather than the dealer or the local service station, something like that.
True story. Very, very true.
The other thing with the Pajeros, when I tried to buy some spare bearings, wheel bearings for them, they said they're a nightmare to change, wheel bearings, and generally their life, the wheel bearings, are very good compared to other vehicles.
I
think they're a sealed unit, aren't they, Brian?
They might well be, yeah, because they're a hell of a thing to change, apparently. They have to be done in a workshop.
Yep.
Yeah,
they're a
right.
sealed unit, but they're also, if you're towing, you'll wear them through a lot quicker if you're towing as well, especially the rear bearings, absolutely.
Yeah, well, the other thing about the Pajero bearings, they don't like water, and I did a lot of water crossings, and they screwed over. I then had 3 replacement sets put in. We had a Ryko set that failed after a couple of thousand. We had another set that failed after a couple of thousand.
Wow.
It wasn't until I paid the extra money for the Mitsubishi ones that they've now done another 100,000.
Well, I did over 300,000 with mine, and I never had any problems at all. And a lot of that was towing.
Yeah, I did a lot of water, putting them underwater, and they leak underload underwater, and that's what buggers them up.
Yeah. Okay, would you believe water and towing then?
Yep.
So avoid them both.
As going on from your original question, I think one of the other important things that people need to do is get some sort of a lift in their car. Most people do, but I think especially for the newer people,
depending where they're planning on
probably
going.
get a 40 or 50 mil lift.
Yeah, depending on where they're going, Rod, it's, if they're only outback travelling and things like that, but if you're wanting to take on the high country, then yes, I agree. And also with that, you'd be looking at some form of bash plate.
Yep.
Bash plate protection under the vehicle if you're looking at doing any kind of high country driving or whatever, even outback driving, having a bash plate to stop that stone that's going to come up off the tyre under the vehicle that can do damage. is always a good
Hmm.
idea.
Yeah, good point, Russ.
I've always
Yeah.
managed to find somewhere in the outback where you need a lift kit, so I wouldn't head out there without one either.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay. So that's just a lift kit. What
You're
about
always going to come across some situation, aren't you?
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's like going somewhere without taking your recovery gear. You never know when you're going to need it. And even if
Absolutely,
you're just
yeah.
going out for a picnic, take it with you. You never know.
Well, the benefit
Don't
of
have
doing a
it, you
lift
will
kit
need it.
is the fact that having a lift kit, they've generally put in good quality shocks and springs.
Yeah.
So, which are, you know, aftermarket. So you're going into a quality set that would generally last you and would take the rigorousness of the outback road better than standard shocks and springs.
Yeah, they're built for comfort mostly.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, Rick, a snorkel, is that an essential item?
The benefit of a snorkel is getting clean air from higher off the ground. So I reckon it's an essential, even if you're not going to be doing river crossings and you're doing a lot of outback travel, having a snorkel at least picks the air up higher. And the engine tends to breathe better.
If you're travelling in convoy, it's particularly important. And at times, it's been so dusty that I've advised people with me to turn the top of the snorkel around the other way, so the dust isn't going straight in. I've only ever seen a problem once, and that was actually with the little flowers, pollen or what it is, comes off wattle trees. And it was an extreme amount of wattle, and they all it was windy, and they were all shedding the little petals or whatever it is that they shed. And I looked at my air cleaner that night, and it was just a mess.
Was that the Navara? Was that the Navara you're talking about?
Oh, no, it was probably the Prado before that, I think.
Okay, that's a hay fever problem, mate.
I think
Good on you, Ralph.
I think that brings you on to the next essential modification, and that is anything to do with engine protection. And that can be, a lot of that can be under bonnet as well as outside. Bar protection, snorkel, extra fuel filter, catch can, anything to do with engine protection. I think that's an essential modification too.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I was just curious, when you talk about the snorkels, are they socks that go on the snorkels something that you guys would recommend, or?
They are good, but if they get clagged, they can reduce airflow. But in really dusty situations, they're not bad.
Okay.
I got a couple when we went up the Canning stock route, and all the glue fell to pieces in the hot weather.
Oh, really? And they fell apart?
Yeah, I put them in the bin. Those red ones.
The red ones, yeah, okay.
That's I've got to spare one of those.
It just melted.
Okay. All right, might move on to the next subject. So I want to talk about...
Can I interrupt a bit?
Yeah,
Another thing that's most important is a compressor to pump your tyres back up again after you've let them down.
Oh, of course, yeah, I reckon that's an absolute must. Yeah, either way, you can't rely on the servos and stuff because you never know where you're going to find one.
Yeah, there's not many on the Canning.
No.
Oh, isn't there?
Yeah, it's a couple.
There's 7-Elevens along the Canning, isn't there?
Oh, there is probably is now.
There's
That's
McDonald's on the
actually
Burnsville track now.
Saying that, how often would you adjust your tyres on a trip like that? Is that something that you would set and pretty much run, the same pressures on most of the trip, or are you constantly increasing, decreasing?
You're constantly increasing, decreasing. You're spot on.
Yeah.
When you talk about the noise in the roof rack, I put a new roof rack, the backbone. I find it that's a bit too windy, noisy comes from the roof rack. What it used to be before, never used to get it like that.
You're probably better off with worn tyres, then that takes away the sound from the roof rack.
Turn the radio up.
I think if you're running with a roof rack, you've got too much stuff.
Engine protection, snorkel.
Actually, Naz, that's actually a good point with your roof rack, to keep an eye on what the total amount in kilos, what you can carry. And every vehicle is different as well. What you can carry on a Paj is different to other vehicles.
And the amount of times I've seen people, you know, like my car carries 80 kilos, and and they're going out and buying bars that carry that weight 50 kilos. It's like I do not see the point, unless you're just going to put a swag up there. A 50 kilo rack on a car that can only carry 80 kilos, to me, is absolutely pointless.
Isn't it
taking the weight of the rack as well, plus what you're doing, that's all inclusive.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. They're putting their 50 kilo racks on a car that can carry 80 kilos, so they've literally got 30 kilos left to carry.
Not in one.
And you do not want to put too much weight up there, by no means. So
Isn't Ed our roof rack specialist? No?
Where's Ed?
He's hiding in the corner.
He's gone for another drink.
No, he's still here.
Oh.
Problem with roof racks, you get those, you've got to make sure your mounts are properly into the roof itself, not those clip-on gutter type ones.
Why is that, Ed?
Because they tend to let go. They spread when you go around bumpy roads, and they'll go like that and give out on you.
That's not good.
Oh, it's not good. Get good quality roof racks. Isn't that right, Ralph?
I agree with you, Ed. Your experience.
Get the best quality you can afford.
Leave the bloody thing at home, I reckon.
Yeah, that as well. Oh, trailer.
It's good for them. It's a good Reno racks. It's put by ARB, so they think they did a good job.
Which one, sorry?
Reno racks. Amber.
Amber.
Yeah.
Not familiar with it.
The Rhino racks, that new spinal support, they're supposed to be noisy.
I find it a bit noisy after putting this.
Yeah, noisy racks depends on which way the rails go a lot. So if you have the rails going up and lengthways of the car, they tend to be less noisy than the ones that go across. But the ones that go across tend to be a bit stronger. So you've got to make your mind up which one you want to go for.
When you buy your actual roof bars, they have an arrow which direction to actually face them forward. If you put them around the other way, it is very noisy.
Speaking from experience.
We'll all be checking now, Ralph.
No, it's not talking from experience. I've just put some racks on my car and I noticed the arrow, and it's a true story.
Okay. All right. And I think Ed made a good point there too. It's at the end of the day, I think with any accessories you buy, you know, you get value for money. I think at the end of the day, get the best you can afford in all cases. You don't always have to get the most expensive. And I would suggest the most expensive is not always the best necessarily, but definitely investigate, you know, talk around, ask around, you know, the club, and, you know, got 300 members with a, you know, a huge amount of experience. Definitely get the best you can afford.
Most of the things that break when you're on an extended outback trip, for instance, are accessories that are bolted on. After the cars usually can take the punishment, but the accessories can't.
I absolutely agree with you. It's always the accessories that mess up.
We had a Nissan made or approved Nissan nudge bar on the front of a Pathfinder, and on the third day, it was morning tea time, and someone leant on the bar and it fell off.
Sorry.
It had broken the end off the chassis. That's how good it was.
Yeah, I've had that.
Yeah.
I love a car.
Well, when we were going into Broome, a guy came into Broome with his bull bar on top of his roof rack because it'd fallen off, and also he got a ticket from the police for not displaying a number plate.
So is that why you need a roof rack for the trip, is it?
Isn't it the Gib River Road is where all the accessories are, like roof tents, battery packs from caravans, and all the. If you need accessories, go down the Gib River Road. They're all there.
It's a good tip.
Some of them have got a bit of gravel rush, that's all.
And there's one thing that we talk about in driver training is, prioritise and spend. So work out where you're going, work out what you're doing, prioritise what you need, and spend the right amount of money to get the right equipment. Instead of trying to buy a whole heap of stuff that, cheaply.
Yeah.
Prioritise and spend, carefully.
And I would do it over a period of time. Don't try and buy it all at once. Because you probably won't start off doing major trips. You probably start off doing easier stuff, and you'll learn as you go. So I'd say buy it as you need it rather than rushing out and buying a whole truckload at once.
That's right.
And that way you learn what you need as well. You go on smaller trips and you get your experience up.
You can always just look around what everybody else has got and just go, is it any good?
Yeah, have a look at everybody's setup. There's so many different setups within the club. The club meetings, they'll bring their cars along, or go, driver training. You'll see other setups.
Your pad videos.
Yeah, don't be scared to steal somebody else's idea. Isn't that right,
That's
Nats?
right.
Yeah, they're all stolen.
So that's called, I reckon it's called resource utilisation. Someone's got a resource, utilise it.
That's it.
Cool. That's where I live.
Yeah. All right, I might move on to the next subject then. We've got specifically, I've got touring, but I think the question was raised more around outback touring. And the first question I have is around what are the best foods to take on an extended trip and the best way to store it? Now, just to kick it off, I think for myself, one of the things I think came to mind straight away was I generally buy the, like for smaller trips in particular, I always go to the butcher's and I order my meat fresh the day before or the morning before I'm leaving. And I ask him to always cryovac it flat. And as far as storage goes, I think the ultimate storage is a fridge. I have a permanent fridge set up in my car. So I'm lucky in that sense. And, I keep the meat cryovac flat. And then I know it's generally going to last me 7 days. And then, of course, you can start buying it on the way as well. If you've got a freezer, it's even better.
Naz, do you have any other questions? I think you just answered that one perfectly.
I think there's
well, actually, I'd like to ask some of the experience, as in, Laurie and the Streets, they've done, many trips, and also the Harrisons that have done huge amount of outback trips, as opposed to freezing food or cryovac as I'm actually on the cryovac bandwagon, as opposed to freezing with meat. Get it fresh, get it cryovac, and then even put it into the fridge frozen when you start. Yeah. But have it cryovac and get the longevity out of it that way.
Russell. I always freeze everything flat. I cryovac and freeze it all, and then put it in the freezer. And then at least if the freezer breaks down and everything thaws out, I've still got a couple of days before I have to use it all.
Okay.
Which has come in handy a few times. I also take a lot of dried vegetables, and just even cryovacing all your cereals and things. It just helps to pack them a lot easier, and just take them out as you need them. But I avoid tin food because then you're left with all the cans that you've got to store, empty cans. At least with the cryovac bags, you can just wash them out and keep them until you get home, or reuse them. You can get a little portable cryovac machine anyway and take it with you and buy up as you get to each town.
I was actually going to ask, do you actually travel with a cryovac machine? I know.
Yeah, I have got a little one,
Yeah.
Could I ask about...
It's like a little hairdryer. Tiny.
Yeah.
You're talking about tin food, Sue.
Yeah.
I was going to mention a bit later, but I'll cut in now, about emergency rations in case you get stuck between two creeks or two rivers or you break down. We got stuck in Seisha in Cape York for a week, and then we got stuck in for another week. But luckily, there are places there where you can buy food. But if you get stuck where you can't buy food, tin food is very handy as emergency rations.
Yeah, I tend to take more the continental instant soups and the instant pastas.
Yes.
I don't eat
They're
pasta.
tastier and they're flat and easy to pack.
Yeah, but I find even on the bush, I take on a bush trip, I take emergency food, and quite often I use it as normal meals. I buy the tins of big and chunky. People reckon I eat dog food, and I also buy the little tins of salmon or tuna.
Oh yeah.
That's why your hair fell out.
They are great. We've been away for a couple of weeks, but we've gone away for 3 months at a time, and quite often we haven't gone near a town for a couple of weeks. So we just don't want to store up with all those empty cans when we've emptied them.
Buy spam. Spam is good.
Spam.
The other problem with cans is if you stack them on top of each other, and
Yes.
it gets gritty and dusty, they can actually, the top can can work its way through the bottom can.
Yep.
And
also dried food is a lot lighter.
yeah,
When we go on our serious trips, we normally take 2 weeks worth of food. I've been stuck in the outback for 2 weeks, watered in once, so I know how serious it can get out there, and it's really important if you're going fairly remote to make sure you've got a couple of weeks, in my opinion. I always go with about 100 litres of water as well. People think I'm buggering up my suspension, but I'd rather bugger up my suspension than die of thirst.
Do you compromise on that? Do you compromise the sort of, when you say 100 litres of water, is that 100 litres of water and 50 of wine, or?
Well, yeah, wine's a real problem. I always take the 2 litre cask, but you've got to check them every couple of days and have a.
I was going to say, have you ever had one blow out?
More than one.
Oh, they leak. But you got to have the sticky tape ready to stick over the holes. So you check them daily, and when you see a leak, put some sticky tape over them. Yeah, absolutely.
We had one go right through our camper one time. We put this shadow cardboard in the camper. We got there and we couldn't work out what all this red mark was. And it scattered in the camper and just went right through the camper.
But even your cans of beer will rub against each other and get holes in them. So we now, if we take any cans, we do put them into either stubby holders, or we put the bubble wrap around them.
Yeah, or socks. You can buy special neoprene socks for them as well.
And I have a big black plastic box in the back of the car that I put all the fluids in. So all the beer and the wine and anything that's got liquids in it all goes in a big black plastic box in the back there. So if anything.
Nas, do you understand we're now getting onto the priorities of packing things?
Yeah.
You've also got to know where there is beer and where there isn't beer. Because
you've got to buy 2 slabs and 2 life straws. You'll never run out of liquid water.
Another good thing with cans, particularly aluminium cans like beer, is to put one of those thick rubber bands like the Australia Post used to put around. That's
spot on, Laurie.
Yeah,
spot on.
That works all right.
Yeah.
Is it just around the can so they're not rubbing against each other?
Yeah, that's all you need.
Okay.
Yeah. I built a hatch into our caravan, and it used to hold 5.5 cans. And a couple of occasions I've gone to the hatch to restock the fridge, and I've grabbed a can and it's burst, just that little bit of extra pressure, and I've had to throw it out the door, and beer everywhere.
Oh.
Not fun.
No.
But enough to make you stop drinking.
No.
Not quite.
Stop me.
All right. So would you normally take food from home or buy it in towns? What?
I do both, because I figure that if everybody goes to these towns and takes their own food, the people in the town don't make any money. And when you go back 10 years later, they've all gone out of business and you've got no food anyway. So I always figure you're better off to buy it as you go, as much as possible.
We always try to buy all our fresh food wherever we are.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Buy fresh food everywhere we go, but I always take my own meat from home.
Some of it's not always that fresh, but depends how long after the trucks have been through that you get it.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, on the canning stock came in while we were there, and the food was already 3 days out of date.
I was just going to say that, sir. Actually, on the canning stock route, I took a whole lot of meat from home, nice fillet steak and so on, which goes well on the barbecue. And it lasted the whole trip, was 5.5 weeks. As long as you keep it cool, it doesn't even have to be frozen. If it's properly cryovac, it'll last quite a long time.
If you add spices to it, that tends to make the meat go off quite quickly.
Yeah,
so it's better off to be just plain.
Some of that outback meat too. Some of the
I
outback
always keep
butcher
it plain.
shops are a bit sus.
Yeah, that was at Walloona, wasn't it, Sue?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
I think the best meat from out in those areas goes overseas. We get what's left.
Oh, it does.
That's right.
Oh no, there's some good stuff around. You just got to know where to go.
Crayfish.
Yeah.
The best crayfish in Australia goes overseas.
Yeah.
What about drinking water? Where would you get your, especially on some of those bigger outback trips and stuff? Where would you? You haven't got a camper
Take our own
you
from
can't carry
home.
100 litres.
We usually take our own drinking water, and we have a separate tank that once that's, we finish that one first, and then we fill it up with local water, and then that becomes our washing water. So we've still got our fresh tank to keep us going until we get really good drinking water again.
Is local water generally pretty commonly available? Or pretty
Yes.
Most places.
Yeah, you can get local water, but I always run a one of those inline filters whenever I'm filling the tanks in the camper or whatever in the van.
That's a good idea.
I always fill it through one of those carbon filters.
Down the upper west coast, you have to be very careful as far as taking water in Sharp Bay and a few other places. Don't fill up with water there. Take your own water.
A lot of that's desal water. They have little desal plants.
Yeah.
And they might as well not bother, I reckon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bloody awful.
Oh, I don't know. That one in Cooper Pete's not bad.
Cooper Pete's all right, but you got to pay for it.
No, I'm talking about the west coast.
We're talking west coast, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I always have a packet of water purification tablets in the car too.
Yeah, I've got
What
them
do they
too, but I've
taste
never
like?
used them.
Do you take them neat or do you put them in water?
Yeah, no, just add water.
Got another thing.
No, I use them as straws into it.
Right, so just another quick question with the outback touring, and this is one for me personally. I just did an outback trip through outback New South Wales, and I haven't done a lot of outback trips myself, but one thing I was always a little bit uncertain about is where exactly you can camp. So if you're going through, like I was going through Menindee and that sort of area, and you're following the major tracks, and it looked like there was a lot of, great spots just off the side of the, just basically 50 metres, 100 metres off the road. What's the general rule as far as, where you can camp?
Go to the local pub and ask a local.
Yeah, you might be 200-300 k's away from a local.
There's always a pub.
Hey, Naz, if it looks good, it probably is good. If you're off the road and you're out of the way of everyone, enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Unless you camp on an aerodrome.
I think for me, look,
we did it up in we're up on the Savannah Way, and we pulled it into this spot, and we thought, oh yeah, it's out in the middle of nowhere. It was dark when we got there. This is years ago with Ronald Carroll, and in the morning, this guy come flying in. He said, "I've got the police on the way. You're at the end of my airport." It was the end of the runway. Apparently, we had no idea. It just looked like a nice flat area. This guy was going sick. We just packed up the campers and just left. But yeah,
was that a 4 o'clock track?
Yeah.
And you told me you're from the Toyota Land Cruiser Club, didn't you?
Yeah.
So, Naz, that answers your question. Anywhere that looks great, but not an airfield.
Yeah.
But when you do it, Naz, when you do it, don't just pull up at the first spot. If the track goes on further, go on further and have a look. You can always come back. But the first spot isn't always the best.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, that's good advice. I know a couple of times I drove off the track and, I'm driving down a couple of kilometres and then all of a sudden there's a gate there and I've realised I'm on, I don't know at what point is actually private property or,
Well, if there's a gate there, I'd turn around and go back.
Yeah. But is the private property normally where the gate starts? Like, does that mean I can camp anywhere between the road and the gate?
Not necessarily, but that's obviously a bit they want to keep to themselves. So
yeah,
if you go back and to me, they're saying that you can camp further back, just don't come through my gate. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good.
What about communications, Naz?
Communications? Yeah, we can jump down to that. I've got communications. So mainly around, I think the question had there, you know, satellite phones, PLB, EPIRB. I know I've got like a Spot Gen 3. There's the InReach. You know, I mean, I think satellite phone is obviously the ultimate tool to have as far as communications go.
I'd actually...
What's wrong with the old HF radio?
HF is better than satellite phone.
In some ways it is, in some ways it isn't.
Well, yeah, I reckon there's better access, better reception, and more access across the country within Australia on HF than there is on sat phones.
It gets a bit noisy at night though. There's a lot of people get on it. But the advantage of it is that if you're calling, you know, one of the bases and you say that you're in trouble at such and such a spot, as far as you know, unknown to you, there might be a car just over the next hill. But with a sat phone, you obviously only can talk to whoever's on the other end.
Right.
So like an HF radio broadcasts the whole reception area that you're in trouble, and there might be a rescue vehicle within a short distance.
You're spot on, Laurie. With the UHF is your base, and that really is your priority, and then work your way up from there.
So long as someone on the trip has either a sat phone or an HF radio, preferably both, but like not everybody has to have all this equipment. And probably the trip leader that has the most, because they would normally be more experienced if they're leading a trip into these places. And he would probably tell you what he's got, or he or she would tell you what they've got, and they'll probably give you the sat phone number so that you can pass that on to your friends or someone if you need to.
And if you're in a large group, there's usually somebody who, I've got a sat phone, I don't, and you don't necessarily use the sat phone to talk to everybody, but it's there just in case, and someone has something else. It's usually, rather than trying to spend all this money to get all this gear, Laurie's got a HF, you've got a sat phone, you've got a Spot, you've got an EPIRB, your bases are covered. So usually when you do organise a big trip like that, you sit down and have a bit of a meeting as such, and plan out your trip as a group, and then usually work out who's got what and who's taken what, because you might have 6 diesel cars and 1 petrol car. So
no thanks.
And fuel, you know, he might use more fuel than me, so I'll carry an extra Jerry for you in case something goes wrong. So that's the advantage of going out in a large group that's well organised. And obviously at the Pajero Club and at Trip and Social, we're well organised.
That's it.
What about some of the new technology? What about some of the new technology like Zaleo, the Garmin things, all of which actually connect to the sat phone network as well as your mobile phone?
Yes, they're all good.
There's a few of us over 60 here. What the hell are you talking about?
Well, I'm well over 60 myself.
Yeah?
Yeah, I am. I know.
Compliment.
Good. Yeah, good genes. What can you say? Well, Zaleo and Garmin have got equipment that will connect to your mobile phone to turn that mobile phone connect it into the satellite network, basically. It's a hybrid technology that's becoming fairly popular. I'm a bushwalker.
Don't those
stuff all the time? I'm just wondering how that fits into the four-wheel drive scene.
Well, don't those ones that connect to your mobile phone only work off the Soraya satellites that's over Singapore? So you've got to know exactly where it is.
No, they tap into the sat phone satellite network.
Well, most of them, I don't think they do. You've got to have an Iridium phone to get into the Iridium network.
No, not anymore. That's what Zaleo does. That's the Australian designed one. But Garmin also have a small device that taps into the same network.
Okay.
Like a sat phone, you can't talk to people, but you can send messages, and it has location networks, or location functions within it to send messages home to the folk at home to say where you are and you're fine, etc., etc. It's
all done like a text
expensive
message.
is that?
sorry.
How expensive is that add-on?
Oh, Zaleo. I'm an ex-scout leader. We've just recently gone to Zaleo, just as I left, because it's a lot cheaper than a sat phone.
Well, sat phones are a lot cheaper now too than they were. They're only about $1,200 now, I believe. So.
Yeah, well, these are running. The device that you buy is about $500. It connects to your mobile phone, and the ongoing costs per year, depending on how often you're out, is as little as $40 for the year after you've paid your upfront costs, and it just goes up from that. But basically, you're looking at about $40 a month for premium plans, and you can go in and get out. So if you go away for 3 months of the year, you pay $120, and then you turn it off when you come back, and it's sitting there waiting for you to set up and go away again.
Yeah, whereas the sat phone is $40 a month regardless. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my understanding is that there are 3 satellite systems available in Australia. There's Thoriah, Inmarsat, and Global Star, or something like that. So when you buy a satellite phone, you buy one for each one of those systems. Now, I bought a Thoriah that has a geostationary satellite over in Malaysia, so it doesn't work very well in Tasmania. It won't work in New Zealand. It works really well in China when I was up there. If you go to Europe, you got to buy a new card for it, and it'll do the whole of Europe, North Africa. It won't work in South Africa. You buy a new card in the US, and you can't get coverage in South America. If you buy Globestar or Instamat, then you get coverage worldwide. Instamat will cover the north, from what I remember, the North Pole and South Pole, whereas Globestar doesn't go that far. But you got to decide what satellite system. But I bought a Thoriah because it was the cheapest operating cost, and also I could hook it up to the internet, download my emails when I bought it 10 years ago, and it's still going quite happily. I had to buy a new battery for it. It cost me about $1,500 now, but they're a lot cheaper. But yeah, you got to decide if you're going to travel. You know, if you're going to go on a boat and travel, then you probably don't want to get a Thoriah. And if you want to go to Tasmania, you don't want to get one. So you need to really do your research before you buy this gear.
And one good thing, we've got a club sponsor too. Just a little plug for them. Rent 2 So they're local, so you can just rent or hire a sat phone from them.
Excellent.
You don't have to necessarily have the expense of buying one, and you get 10% off. You mentioned the Pajero Club, so that's another option for you.
That's probably a good idea.
Exceed Magazine advertises several communication devices. Yeah, that's the Iridium one, isn't it?
Yep. They have the Iridium. Yeah, just the Iridium one, but they're a club sponsor, so my first preference would go to them if you're going to go on a bit of a trip. You want a high one rather than go for the expense of buying one.
Zaleo actually uses the Iridium network.
There you go.
There you go.
And
right in design.
My experience with travelling, and a lot of my outback stuff's been with Ray Horton, the late great Ray Horton, was the fact that each night he'd register his trip with the network on his HF, and he'd actually log in at night and then log in the morning, see what's in the area, see what's happening, and they can kind of keep tabs on the trip that he's doing. And then
the other thing, Russ, is you yourself at home there, you could also log in with Ray back at home, and you could also see where he is and what he's doing as well.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, but having that, and then as Laurie said before, is that you might be, setting up camp and there's another group just over the back, not far from you, and, you could actually catch up or whatever. So I think it's a real plus in the HF.
So what's involved with the HF radio? Like, I'm not really familiar with them, to be honest.
Well, there you go, Ed. You've got one.
Show you
license?
Yeah, you pay a license fee to the VKS network. I think it's about, actually I just got my renewal, it's like $100 a year. But the radio's the most expensive part. You can be looking at, $1,500 for a second-hand one. So they are rather expensive.
But is there special training you need, or?
No. as long as you can use a radio and you know how to use the lingo, they'll track. They have little. They don't have training nights, but if you're new to the network, you jump on there and say, "Oh, listen, I've just bought this. I'm not sure how to use it," and they'll run you for a little training. Well, they won't run you for a little training session, but you get a booklet and it tells you, all your Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and all the rest of it, how to communicate and all that sort of thing. As long as you go over, out, and sign out, you're right. I'll show you, Nas.
It's
easy.
basically a radio with a different frequency, essentially.
Yeah. I sat in my driveway here at home in Meadow Heights, and I was talking to Alan Sellers in Darwin in the Safeway car park.
Yeah.
Because what happened is when Alan went away, he told me he's going away. I said, all right, when will you be calling in? He said, I'll be calling in at this particular time every night. So I'd go outside, turn my radio on and listen for him. And I'd say, Al, everything going all right? And he'd go, yeah, all good.
So how do you get Alan in Darwin as opposed to every other person with a HF radio across the world?
You will get everybody. There's selected frequencies that you're allowed to transmit on, and that's it. So I'd set up a channel with Alan and a time. So I'd say, okay, Alan, I'll meet you on channel 5 on the network, which is, I can't remember the frequency offhand, at 7 o'clock Melbourne time. So Alan would call me, my personal cell call number, and he'd go, yep, and I'd call him. We'd have a bit of a chat on the phone, on the radio, and we'd be right as rain, and he travelled well.
And that's obviously bouncing off antennas or whatever.
Ionosphere, or skip and all sorts of things.
It goes right up in fact, sometimes you get a bit of a delay, and it's gone right around the world. So it's a really good radio system.
Oh, yeah. And like you're pushing out 100 watts.
But one of the negatives of it is that, particularly up north, if you get all the Indonesian fishermen use it too, and you can't get a word in edgeways.
Yeah, you get the fishermen.
Oh, they just go nuts.
And the caravanners.
And the caravanners,
the flying doctor, is that a bit of a positive?
Yeah, and also you can get you get a list of the police stations and things you can actually call. You can cell call, so it's a special number you put into the radio itself, and it'll ring their landline, and you can get into police stations, flying doctor services.
You can't actually call the flying doctor direct. They won't accept it anymore.
Oh,
they won't.
No, but you can call one of the
base stations,
and they'll put through a landline from there.
Yeah.
But you need to think twice about calling the flying doctor anyway.
It is good fun though.
Oh.
He's leaving.
You're leaving?
It's just us. I didn't want to interrupt your conversation, but we're going to go. So thanks for that. And hopefully we'll see some of you or all of you on a trip.
Yeah, we will be recording this as well. So I'll let you know when it's on YouTube as well.
Okay, good on you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Bye.
One of the other things is Four-Wheel Drive Victoria's Track Watch magazine advertises a communication device as well, and also the website Aussie Explore Oz. They have a tracking system that a lot of people use when they do trips.
There's only one problem there, Brian.
Probably.
You've got to take it out of the plastic wrap.
Oh no, I put mine in quarantine for a week.
Nice one, Ralph.
Yeah, Ralph, that was a really good article you wrote for Track Watch this month. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
The wrong magazine, but thank you very much anyway.
All right. We've done that one, and moving on. There was a question around Cape York. Is there specific vehicle requirements for Cape York? And I think the question was, is there a safe trip plan that doesn't involve drowning your car?
Russell.
Yeah, it's called the
Russell.
Road.
Russell, where are you?
It's called the developmental road. You don't get wet on that.
Hey, Russell, have you dried your car out now, Russ?
Yeah. I dried it out in Susha.
As long as you don't go to the gun shop.
It's the best place in the world to go to, Cape York. It's beautiful.
It's becoming quite popular now too, though, isn't it? Like I kind of almost expect that you go up there and it's just going to be bumper to bumper.
It does get busy.
We were up there about 3 years ago, and they nearly finished sealing the developmental road. There's only a few hundred k's to go.
Yeah, yeah. I was up there in 2012.
Yeah, well, we were there. I think
Like
what was
forever.
it, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
And there wasn't very much left to seal, and they're planning to get it all done in 3 years. We grabbed the HEMA 15 best tracks, and we did about 13 of them. But the best guide is to talk to other people. There's a couple of tracks we didn't do because people came out and they said, no, everybody's getting drowned in there. So, and obviously you use your common sense and you walk the bloody thing before you drive it. And so many people just drive in because they've seen another car go through and they take a different route and they lose the wheel in the hole. It's really important. When I went through every single river crossing, I walked one wheel one way and the other wheel the other way. So I knew how deep it was before I went across, and it's just so important.
Well, just get behind the German tourists. They'll show you where the holes are.
We picked up a couple of Dutch people that came with us because they wanted to do the trip, but they didn't want to do it on their own. They had a rental car. So yeah, I'll take that up to them. But it's a great trip, well worth going. You want 8 weeks up there, in my opinion. We had about 6, and we could have done with a bit longer.
Rental cars go everywhere, so it doesn't matter.
And company cars.
And company, well, not my company car. Rusty, your company's cars go everywhere.
Yeah, mine's a company car. It goes really well.
Yeah.
But the worst track when we were there, the most difficult one was the Lara to Mayfield. That was really, that was absolutely quite incredible. It was, about 60 k's, and it was 2 days in low range 1 and 2. With,
we were meant to be up at the Cape this year, me and PVR and a whole bunch of us, and this dreaded COVID got us.
So when's that back on, Ed?
Sorry?
When's that back on? 2023?
Probably, yeah. We got to plan ahead for those trips. You got Big Red Bash, you got the Simo. I've got a Flinders. I've got Big Red Bash. There's a Flinders trip coming up next year. Our one of our members from South Australia has been emailing me regularly, and it's going to be an awesome trip next year. So it'll be the trip to look out for, that Flinders trip.
We're keen to go to the Flinders. We haven't been for a long time, so we'd love to go.
Well, one of the guys in South Australia who comes over for the Australia weekend trip, Scott Sando, he does the forum, and he's got a mate called Pete, and Farmer Pete we call him, and he's a tour guide. So he'll go take you through the Flinders Ranges and tell you everything. And the guy's just an encyclopedia of knowledge of the Flinders. And so Scotty, it's his playground.
Which time of year are they thinking, Ed? Autumn or spring?
It's looking at August.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't tell anybody, all right, but it's looking at about August.
Yeah.
That's -6 at when you wake up in the morning.
Yeah, very cold.
A photograph of -6 on the thermometer.
I've slept through -6, no problems at all.
Yeah, we did that in June.
Yeah, did that in
But
June.
I haven't slept with you at -6.
Well, it's an experience, I can tell you.
Didn't they have snow there this August?
In the Flinders?
Yeah.
Did they?
Yes.
Well, I don't have to check my email now, but I'm pretty sure it was August, that we're going.
Yeah.
Well, hang on, I'm sorry. That's when the trip's going to be announced.
About this time of year is best. It's when all the wildflowers are out.
Yes.
Yeah. You want to go October. October is the best month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm on the trip, so I have that advantage being social.
But when's a bad time to go out that way?
There's never a bad time to go away.
Summer. Don't go to the Flinders in summer.
No.
Very hot. We've done that.
Don't go there.
And it's very hot, very dry.
Yeah. So when's wet season then? Do they get?
They don't have that.
When it rains.
The winter is fine.
Yeah, because I'm planning my trip to the Erdnadalla in winter next year. So
September's good everywhere.
Yep. Well, they're only just getting their first rains in about 8 years now.
Yeah. So I think you're pretty safe. If you want to go in June next year, go in June next year. If they got the rain this year, you're probably dry next year. Geez, you're going quiet now.
Last year.
What are you trying to show us, Brian? Brian, hey,
Yes,
what are you trying to show us behind you there?
that's my trip to Cape York. That's a broken spring.
Yeah, I thought it was.
I was doing about 35 kilometres an hour when I broke that.
Yeah.
On the road, there was a big lateral, what would you call it? Water channel, water ditch across the road. And I hit it at about 35 kilometres an hour, and bang, broke the spring.
I wouldn't use those blue springs though.
That was our week stranded in Saisha.
Sounded like a good result to me.
What brand spring?
At least you didn't have to ship the car back. We saw plenty of four-wheel drives being shipped back.
Yeah.
Saw that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but the companies do that. We met at Cullinan in Hudson Bay, and he'd driven all the way up through to Cape York, all the way to the tip, and they were driving back to Saisha to get on the ship to drive to be taken back to Sydney.
Hmm.
I think he
They don't drive back. They just go up, they do their trip, and they record everything, and then they just jump on the boat and go back on the ship.
Yeah, well, when we drove up there, a couple of cars got completely buggered up. One guy drove across the river and hit a log and Jardine River, and his wheels were pointing in opposite directions at the front. And then they had a little Suzuki was with them, but that died on the Jardine River as well. So I think out of about 5 cars in this group, 2 of them went back on the boat. They were a bunch of hoons though, but anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
And that was the nightlife. We had over at the fishing club, they had drinks are hard to get, but they sold them openly and freely at the fishing club, and they had it was Mabo week when we were there, and 24 hours a day for the 7 days we were there, the doof doof loud carrying for miles music never stopped.
The Flinders Rangers trip, anybody want to know? It's for September.
Oh, good. That's better than August.
He's booked a station for the 15th September. So we've got a station.
Which station?
ALPANA station.
Alpana.
Yes, that'll do.
And how long will that be for, Ed? Is that a week or 2 week trip? Or?
At least 2 weeks, yeah. What he's doing with that one, he's organising it so that in Melbourne we meet him at a particular place in South Australia. So if we come up from Melbourne and meet him at Hawker or somewhere like that.
The Hawker pub's a good place to stop.
Yes, it is, isn't it, Paul? Especially when you can raffle.
Having lived in Hawker for 8 months, I used to live in the pub there. Yeah,
that's the date at the moment, but that's unconfirmed. It's just this is secret trip and social business.
It's on YouTube now, mate.
You're gonna have to line up for that. You're gonna have to line up for that trip. Can't edit that bit out.
Yeah, we'll see how we go with that one. I've got limited editing skills.
Oh, you've got good editing skills. I've seen you.
The editing skills goes to everyone's putting their thumbs up now. We're there, Ed. We're there. Thank you.
Let Scott know. That'd be a good trip with Scott and Pete over there. They're really good guys. Good company too.
Trip full.
Are you coming, are you, Ralph, as well?
Trip full.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, sorry. It's empty again.
Any waiting list?
No speaking English. What was that, baby?
Any waiting list?
It's up to Scott, mate. It's not up to me. I'm waiting for him to post the trip. He's just sending me some details.
What else is there, Naz?
We got next one. I've got the question is around camper trailers, and the question I've got is what other precautions or rules when towing in a group specifically? And that's the first question. So I've got a couple of questions. So is there any, Paul, you're probably an expert there with the camper trailers. I imagine there's probably a few members here that have towed around the outback and that sort of trail.
We have difficulty getting people to come on our long trips. That's the problem. I don't think there are any rules. The only rule I like to say is that we agree a time to set off in the morning, so there's not this people who hang around for half an hour for somebody else. That's really the only thing. And I do like to get into camp before dark. I don't think it's any different whether you got camper trailers or not.
I think with a camper trailer, you should treat it like your four-wheel drive, get it serviced and look after it.
Correct.
Before you leave on a trip, get your service, get your wheel bearings done, make sure everything's up to spec before you even think about leaving. Because it'd be nothing worse, it's dead weight and it's an expensive thing to bring home.
Spot on.
And camper trailers are a bit like accessories. You get what you pay for.
So very much.
Oh, well, if you pay a lot of money, you still get junk. I can guarantee you that.
No.
I don't know. Hey, Russell, would you like to swap camper trailers, mate? I'll give you mine. I'll take that horrible van you've got.
You haven't got all of hell.
You reckon Kerry be after me with a big knife or what?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Well, we bought an Ultimate and all the suspension fell to pieces, and they gave us a complete new set of suspension. But of course, it was the Mitchell Falls River, so the Gibb River is not too bad. Up with Mitchell Falls, it's 400 kilometres of shit corrugated going all the way up there and shit corrugated coming all the way back. And I do think that if you're taking a camper trailer, you need to stay away from the serious corrugations. I don't think I'll take a camper trailer on serious corrugations again.
Paul, don't hang out. If you've got something to say, mate, just let us know.
Yeah, I would.
Depending on the time of the year that you go.
I had a T-van and I'd take that anywhere, anytime. It was bloody indestructible.
Yep. I took a Cub camper right up through Cape York, took it all the way through every river, back down through the desert into onto the Simpson, into over Big Red. Not a problem.
Yeah, how much of that is those corrugations are like between
Cape York,
lots
of it.
Yeah, certainly the road up to Mitchell Falls is the worst corrugations I've ever been on in my life, and there's really long ones that you can't find a sweet spot on them.
That's right. Yeah,
and that's
going out to Chili Beach. When we were heading out towards Chili Beach, the corrugations there were there was just nothing you could do. You'd be doing 2 kilometres, you'd be doing 10 kilometres. Yeah. They were just huge. The corrugations
So is the bottom line then, at the end of the day, don't take your camper, take your car and take your camping equipment?
No.
I'd take a T-van anywhere.
Yeah, I'd take the Cub anywhere. And I'll take the Matrix anywhere. I would have taken the Matrix on most of the same places.
Is it?
Yeah, well, I take the Cub and Matrix across the Wenlock River, but I took the Cub across the Wenlock, and that dirty big rock in the middle, I bounced over it. Anyone that's done the Wenlock knows that big rock.
Probably the only thing wrong with it, or track that's wrong with a camper van, is anything with sandhills. You just you can't get enough traction to drag them up through all those nasty scallops that are in the track.
Yep.
You need momentum, and obviously you can't get that with scallops. So you either leave the thing at home, or you've got to be prepared to fill each of those scallops in with a shovel.
Yeah, you're spot on, Laurie. Like the Simpson Desert?
I wouldn't take one on the Simpson.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, I agree there.
I agree too.
The only track I took it on with sandhills was Goog's track, and there's only probably 5 sandhills there that caused us any drama, and we just had to fill all the holes in with the shovel. Like Goog's track was never on the agenda; it just happened. It was on the way back, and we had a couple of days up our sleeves. So why don't we do Goog's track?
Why not?
4 o'clock track.
Sorry.
The 4 o'clock track.
This one started at 8 o'clock in the morning, so yeah.
Laurie's spot on, and Goog's track, it really is like a 4 o'clock track, where most people say, well, we're here, it's the Juna or wherever, let's go across the track.
If anybody hasn't done Goog's track, you should put it on your itinerary. It is.
Yeah, it's on mine.
It is just beautiful, mellow.
It's just a shortcut, isn't it? Straight across and you're there.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Yes, it is. Yeah,
it's
there's a
not
little
down.
bit more involved. A little bit more involved than
Oh, a
Red.
couple of corners and hills and things.
That's
Oh, there's some amazing things. Wait till you see.
I've got a trip plan in here for Googs or Googs.
There's a tree you'll find with a lot of money in it.
Yeah, the one that's nailed up. Yes, I've seen that.
But right near the tree is Googs Lake, and that's just a magnificent camping ground.
Yeah,
spot on.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I've heard that. Yeah.
if you go there, even if you get there at 11 o'clock in the morning, still stay on camp at least one night.
Yeah.
Just a magnificent spot.
I think the other really good camping spots at Mount Fink.
Yes.
That's absolutely magic there.
At the top end.
It's about 3/4 of the way up, or 2/3
Yes.
of the way up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you get to the
You can
12-mile
lose.
track and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You lose
It's
cameras
about
there,
for
right?
those who don't know, it's about 350 sand dunes on there.
Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful trip.
Oh, hasn't more anything else? Yeah, good track. Good on you.
All right,
Nas,
next question.
Nas, have you got anything on tyre pressure monitors?
I think Ed's the expert on the tyre pressure monitors, hey, yeah?
No. I was just saying this is my my wish list of tracks in my little folder.
That's the do.
Yeah, you buy the maps and you look at them and go, ooh, I wouldn't mind going there one day. And you plan your trip out and just leave it
Down
there.
the present list, the Googs track book.
I don't have a specific, but I'm happy to open up to new questions. I'm more or less done with a lot of the list that I had.
If I'm not jumping the gun
No,
before things peter down, I'd love to get some opinion on a worthwhile having tyre pressure monitor system.
I wouldn't go without.
Yes.
I wouldn't leave home without it.
No.
I wouldn't get saying they're the best things ever. Yeah. I've been down to Portland with young Russell here a few times.
Up an ARB link system with the TPMS in that. In my tyres I got fitted today.
Thanks, Melinda.
See you, Melinda.
Bye.
See ya.
The cheapest accessory you buy is a tyre pressure monitoring system.
I agree, but which one?
The best one you can afford.
Well, I bought a $200 Repco one when I was in Darwin that you plug in the cigarette lighter and it got your 4 numbers there and you screw the things on the tyres and that paid for itself for halfway up to Mitchell Falls because we saw the tyres go down. One of the tyres go down as we're leaving the campsite and got it fixed. And I'm sure if we'd gone up the road, it would have bugged up. And the only disadvantage of that is if you've got a trailer, you've only got four sensors.
I need 11.
If you want to put it on a trailer, then you need to get to, I know people have bought ones that are meant for caravans and trailers, but the Wi-Fi is not particularly strong and you need to be careful that you know that the Wi-Fi is going to get to the trailer, and it's something that's certainly problematic when people put them on trailers, and it's something that you want to check when you buy it.
The set I've got is from Safety Day, and I've got them on the caravan, and I've never had a problem with them, except that the little batteries go flat. You just got
Yes, Dave is probably one of the better ones.
Can you change the batteries?
Yes.
Sorry?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, the little batteries like hearing aid batteries.
So what make was that again?
Anyway, guys, I'm going to go.
Thanks,
Say
Russell.
again?
Yeah,
Bye.
Russ.
Thanks, Naz. Great night. See you, Russ.
Later, Russ.
There, Carrie. I know she's listening in the background.
So we'll say, Brian, I've actually got a, my one costs about $30 or $40. It's just basically like an Amazon eBay one. And in all honesty, I compared it to some units that are around the $100, $150 mark. And some of the $100 units, it looked identical to it. It's actually a solar unit that sits on my dash. And you've got the little things that screw onto your tyres. I've had it on my car for quite a few months and it actually works quite well. I think at some stage I definitely would want to upgrade just for my own security, knowing that I've got something a little bit better quality, but you've got to be careful with what you buy in that there's like a mid-range ones. So you either go like a really good one or a really cheap one, in my opinion. And I bought a cheap one because I thought it's just to get myself into it initially. But I definitely would look at getting a higher end one. But like I said, with the middle range ones, I don't think there's always a lot of difference between the middle range and some of the cheaper units.
Now, if I look at it a little bit differently, each tyre costs $300, $350, $400.
Yeah.
So if you save one tyre, you could easily spend $400 on a decent tyre monitor. I can't remember what the Safety Dave ones are. I've had them for many years. And I reckon it saved, over that time, it saved 5 tyres.
How many sensors?
If you save $300 up by 5, you know, your tyre monitor is cheap.
Yeah, I had a trip up to. Sorry, Brian.
Sorry, how many sensors can you fit to say? I need 11. I've got 6 on the car, like 2 spares, and 5 on the caravan.
Why do you need them on the spares?
For when if and when you get flat tyres, you haven't got to sod around with sensors.
Yeah,
when you get 11. So you've got 5 on your car and 5 on your caravan. So if you've got a tandem, so you've got 10.
Yeah, but I had 2 spares on the car.
Yeah, they're just literally like your cap on your tyre anyway. So if you've got them spares,
you wouldn't put them
on
on the
tyre on your right hand rear. Just take the little valve, the cap off the right hand rear, put your new tyre on, put it back on, and you're laughing as long as you got.
So you're saying 8?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got 6.
You got 4 on your car, and you got.
But I think the Safety Dave one, I think you can get 16.
Laurie, you're spot on. I had an extra 2, which was my airbags. So I monitor my airbags as well.
I didn't think of that one.
Yeah.
Smart
So
man,
I had 5 for the caravan, 5 for the car, and 2 for the airbags, and it worked really, really well. TMPS, I can't remember the name of it. They were spot on. We've got a new vehicle, and it comes with time monitors. Absolutely spot on.
MPTS or whatever it was. No one exists.
No, TMPS stands for tyre pressure monitor. It's TPMS instead of tyre pressure monitor.
I can't remember if there was a generic name with it, but TMPS is, I guess, the generic.
That was the name of the golf, and they were from Footscray.
Yes, they were.
And they were very good, but someone from some trucking mob took them over, took the license over, and they're no longer doing it for cars.
Spot on, spot on.
That's
And
why
we
I
had
went
to change the batteries on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But it just worked fantastic, and they were very good on that follow-up too.
But the one we got on your trailer, I took some guys up to Birdsville last year for the Big Red Bash, and we did 4 tyres on that trip. But saying that, 2 of those tyres were saved by tyre pressure monitors.
Yeah.
We pulled over straight away and pressure's gone down. We had one go on a trailer, just tore the tyre to pieces because he said, I felt a bit squirmish, and he didn't have it in his trailer, and took out his nice Cooper, and it cost him $475 for one tyre. The other 2 tyres that were saved were, oh, hang on, I got an alarm going, and that was called the radio. My tyre alarm's going off. We just pulled over, and there it was. Just before, it went to shite, we saved his tyres. So they're worth the money.
Absolutely.
The other thing about them is that they give a temperature reading.
Yes.
And if your tyres are, I think mine is set by the Safety Dave is set at 75 degrees. So I've had them up to 60 degrees, which caused me to stop. So like the alarm goes off when it gets to 75, and I thought at 60 degrees, which we're in Central Australia, was pretty hot.
Yeah.
I thought that was time to stop. So, and we didn't have any trouble with the tyres, but we stopped before we did.
They're cheap enough.
They're a good warning system.
Just buy something.
Safety Dave seems to be the go, hey?
Well, it is for me. But the other thing is that you can actually sort of wire them in. They've still got a plug into them like a charger at that point, but you can wire them directly into the car system, so you don't need to have a charger.
Just a warning on that one, Laurie.
Yeah.
I have mine permanently on 12 volt, and it goes down to, I think, 5 volt for the actually monitor, and I had it on permanently, and it actually devolved. It broke down at the end.
Of course, the battery.
So don't leave it on permanently.
No, you don't leave it
charged.
I was just about to add that.
Thank you.
You just charge the battery up, and then you unplug it and let the battery find source, and then charge it up again later.
Maybe we should bring this up in our shop.
Sorry?
Getting some background noise somewhere. Is anyone aware of where that's coming from?
Oh, sorry, that was my tummy. I'm hungry.
Oh, sorry. Look, I farted. Is everything okay?
It's still echoing.
On your left,
you've recorded that. Damn it.
That's staying in.
It's staying in. Okay, so safety, Dave, is obviously a good one.
Not for farting.
No, not for
well,
farting.
That was the gas escaping and the tyre pressure monitor going off testing.
Yeah. ARB had quite a good one too, I believe. I haven't actually seen it, but the old ARB one used to plug in the cigarette lighter like Paul's did. The cigarette lighter on my car is way down low, and I would have had to been a gymnast to bend down enough to read it. So I discounted that one early on.
Yeah, well, what I've done is I've got one of those things that you plug in that then you can angle it up so you can see it more easily. So there's a socket.
That sounds like a good idea. The new ARB one, I think it's the actual screen mounts on your dash or somewhere like that.
Yeah, well, it has to if you want to get the Wi-Fi to go to the back of caravans. And I know one bloke who had to actually mount it right up top under his rear view mirror because the Wi-Fi wouldn't work except when it was right up there. So as I say, you need to be careful if you're, stuff in the back of their car that will interrupt the signal, and a very big van. I know people have had problems with their signals getting to them.
Can I come back to Naz? Come back to you.
Yeah.
What did we do before we had time monitor systems? We actually put our pressure in the tyres. We kept the pressure there, and then we went and did what we had to do. Now we have monitors and we're obsessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it didn't cost us $300 every time we ruined a tyre. Sorry.
How many times did you ruin a tyre before you had one?
Yeah. 3, I reckon. 3.
And what period of time?
Probably 20 years.
I rest my case, Your Honour. No further questions.
Yeah.
But I also think they're a safety feature because if you are in danger of a blowout or a shredding and a fire.
Yeah. And look, I say for that reason, that was my main reason for choosing, I wasn't in a position at that point just to fork out $300-400 for a decent, and I wasn't really familiar with what the machines or the units offered, and that's why I just decided to go for a $30-40 one. And in all honesty, it's worked fine. Like, it's been working fine. I'm not gonna say it's as good or does the same job as a $300-400 unit, but it's a good entry-level safety unit to have in the car. I think if you can't afford the $300-400, I don't think there's anything wrong with getting a $30 or $40 unit. But by all means, if you can, buy the best that you can afford, and definitely if you're doing a lot of off-roading, invest in a more reliable unit, essentially.
Nice. It's a hell of a lot better than not having one, Naz.
Sorry?
It's a hell of a lot better than not having one.
Yeah, exactly. And that was my theory.
But Naz,
you asked the question, Naz, and you actually answered it, and perfectly.
Thank you. Ed's got something to add?
Yeah, now you've got to be able to keep 4 wheels on the ground, remember? So you don't really have to worry about tyre pressure monitoring systems because you always have 3 wheels on the ground.
I think it was 2 at that given point. But
Yeah, well, hey, have you told anybody how I saved your life?
let's tell the story, Ed.
No, it's better if it comes from you because you're the one who was so
Hey, do you have another question? Another question there?
Yeah, Ness is going to explain how he soiled his pants.
Moving on from that, look, the last question I've actually got on my list was around tyres, all-terrains or mud terrains. Are mud terrains really necessary?
No.
No. On the Cooper website about 10 or 12 years ago, well, I don't know whether it's still there, I haven't looked, it said that mud terrains were only a 4% advantage in mud.
Okay. So I know we had who was it last year? We had someone, was it Cooper Tyres?
Bridgestone.
Was it Bridgestone, was it? And they came out and did a talk and and they had said basically, in their expert opinion, that mud tyres weren't a necessity. Why are they so popular then?
I'll tell you one place where mud tyres are really good, and that's in sand. They dig you in a hell of a lot quicker than an AT.
or a road terrain.
Sorry? That's it.
So what was the last comment?
You have to explain how you stored your underwear.
No more comments required.
Come on, Ness. Not how I saved your life with my winch.
You really want me to tell that story?
Absolutely. It's funny.
About how Tony Jambu put me in the wrong direction.
Yeah, and how Tony Jambu makes things out of ducks instead of swearing.
Yeah.
Go on, tell it.
All right. So there was, what track was it? Do you remember?
Deep Creek track number something or another.
Number 2, I think it was Deep Creek track number 2 out at
Merrington's.
Merrington's, yeah. And we're coming down a track and it was a bit of a downhill track and Tony asked me if I was okay and I said yeah, because so there was a bit of a drop, a hole in the left, and they said just stick to the right. And Tony said, "Are you going to be okay?" I said, "Yeah. I think I've got my track picked out. Okay, no problems." I started moving forward, and then all of a sudden, the front of my car or the front left corner just dipped, and I dipped down, fell into the hole, pointing down a hill, and so I essentially had 2 wheels in the ground, and all I heard was, "The ducks are over there. The ducks are over there. Duck, duck, duck." That was Tony Jambu getting excited, and they said, "Whatever you do, don't move." And I'm like, "What?" I just kind of got in a little bit of a panic. I didn't know what to do, and they're just like, "Just don't move." And I'm standing there, and they said, "Stay on the brake. Whatever you do, don't move a fraction. We got to hook you up." And then it just went silent for about 2 minutes, and I'm just sitting there. I was standing up with my foot on the brake, putting that much pressure. I started to get shaky knee on one, and then I put the other foot on, and then I ended up with both feet on the brake until Ed took a few photos, I think, and and eventually hooked me up and made me safe. And it was a bit of a combination. I think it was partly my fault because I didn't pick the line very well. I put some of it back onto Tony, who should have knew that I was inexperienced enough. I'm not trusted.
Tony ran past my car going, "Duck, duck, 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 duck." "What do we do now?" And I go, "You got a winch extension strap?" He's going, "Yeah." And I had my nephews in the car, so I free spooled the winch, and I said to the boys that whatever you do, don't touch NASA's car. It was just like that point. It wouldn't take much to tip it over. Boys get down there, and there's Tony Jambu at his recovery point going very gently, catching the winch cable. Just in case. And NASA's just going, "Oh." He winched him back. He was safe, though. It was fine.
And then you realise Tony Jambu had a speech impediment.
He did.
Duck, 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 he was saying.
He was just going, "Duck, duck, 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 duck. What do we do now?" And I'm sitting in my car going, Oh my God, we've got to write an incident report. That's all I can think about.
The paperwork.
We had to write this incident report.
Well done.
You know that? That's the day I saved nasty editor's life.
All right, see if I could pull that photo up. Can you see my screen? I don't know what I'm doing here. But
There you go, yeah.
So easy access to the
They're up in the air.
Yeah.
What was Tony Jambu saying? Was it duck, duck, duck or something else?
Duck, duck. He was saying something else. I'm being very polite here, Ralph. You're saying duck, 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 duck as he ran past. So that's going to take an easy way. If you do see the ruts on the left,
oh, hang on.
the ruts, you know, those things that you can fit your wheels in.
That's what we ended up doing.
No, yeah, that's what I ended up doing. That's not what
No, we did. It backed me up and then we ended up going down. And I literally skidded down on my bash plates.
If you look where those, the white bits are on the track where the clay is, this white clay sort of at the bottom of the photo, that's where we winched him up to, so he could get down the hill.
Unreal.
That was good fun, though. It was a great day, Ralph. You should have been here. You would have loved it.
That's a cover shot. Is that a Pajero?
No, that's a Challenger.
Oh, well, it's still a Mitsubishi.
He doesn't like four wheels on the ground, Nass. He's got a three-wheel.
No, but that's a cover shot. That's a magazine cover shot.
Oh, no.
I was advised against that.
That's a DTU. This is what not to do shot.
Brian, that is not a shot for the Pajero Club XE magazine. It is not a shot. No.
I'd have to edit it out of this video as well. But look, as far as the meeting goes, I think that that's pretty much it. We've covered all the questions. If anyone's got any other questions or topics they'd like to discuss, I think we can make a few more minutes.
So Nass, I did save your life that day, didn't I?
You did.
Now, Naz,
I had it under control. Just had to put it in reverse, really.
Naz, here we go. Thank you.
Thanks, Naz, for putting it on. I'll leave you now.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Rod. Your wisdom. Sorry, Ralph.
Thank you very much. You're 15 minutes past my bedtime. Well done.
I'm in my dummies already.
Thank you, everybody.
Right.
Night, Laurie.
Bye.
Laurie.
Thanks, Laurie.
Really appreciate guys all you coming along. Thank you.
No, what worries.